I don't know whose man's this is, bro. I swear, like,
And that's the crazy thing too. Familiarity breeds content. So a lot of people have issues in their families, right? But if you acknowledge that familiarity can breed content, right? I feel like it helps you realize that there's no perfect person and how you just kind of have to let stuff slide, because content is going to grow when you continue. The more and more I know about someone, the more and more reasons I learn why I don't like someone. Just as much as, when you're in love with someone and you're starting a relationship, they're like, oh, it's great spending every day with you because every day I find out new things about you that I love. And
the puppy dog phase.
yeah, but it's like during that time, you're also finding out new things about them that you hate.
Yeah.
It's just about what level of consciousness are you bringing to each side of the person, because we're all multifaceted, right? So over time, as you grow more and more numb to like those emotions, and like you can be more raw with like, yo, this is what it is. You an asshole, bro. Or in certain, or you a blah blah, or you're acting, or whatever. Like, it breeds some level of content. So I think it's interesting because I was having a conversation with one of my friends yesterday, and we were talking about the fact that like, for some reason, people think settling is a bad thing.
Like, when you say settling, are you saying that with like, romantic, like kind of love, or are you just saying, okay.
Like, I think you should settle.
You think that you should settle?
Yeah. Like, I think that if you're one of those people who are like, oh, I don't want to settle, right? And I understand the mindset behind it, right? And the mindset behind it's great. But what ends up happening a lot of times, or what I've seen, is like, those people are like, oh, I don't want to settle for less than what I'm worth. And you shouldn't, right? But that very easily, there's another side of that that's toxic, which is like, I don't want to settle. And then there's no one that fits this exceedingly large bill of demands.
Okay.
Because that person doesn't really exist.
Okay, so before we continue, let's like break all this down, because you have a lot of loaded things that you're you're just speaking. No. Don't apologize for living your life, bro. You know what I'm saying? I always say that to my friends. Don't ever apologize for living your life, for living your truth and speaking unapologetically.
If my truth, right, was hooking up with your girlfriend.
Oh, nah.
Nah, I'm just...
That'd be a terrible truth. No. Okay, so when you say settling, right, what do you mean by settling?
I think that's a really good question, because I think then this is where it kind of goes into two different directions, right? I think a lot of people, when they think about settling, they think about like compromise. They think about giving up like things that you wanted. They think about good enough. That phrase is, oh, they're good enough, or this is good enough for the moment, but it's not what I ultimately want. A lot of times what you ultimately want isn't found in the wild. It's like, if you find, it's like, what's that nigga's name in Pokemon? The electric nigga.
What's that electric nigga? Pikachu?
Yeah. So, but it wasn't my mind. It wasn't going to Pikachu. It was going to the evolved version, Raichu.
Oh, yeah, Raichu.
Yeah. So like, there's no wild Raichus, right?
Yeah.
Right.
You gotta get a Pikachu first.
You gotta get a Pikachu and then evolve, like through your relationship with the Pikachu. You train in the Pikachu. You feel me? Like,
this sounds like such a bad, like, I know exactly what you mean, and it's a good way, but also at the same time, this could be phrased like,
or you gotta
train in them.
Train your woman to feed you.
Terrible. No, I understand that completely.
Yeah, but that's kind of what I mean. It's like, look, the settlement thing, like, it's because it's the word settling. I feel like it has a lot of like you said, loaded things with it, connotations, right? But if you look at it more so like, I understand that I'm not a perfect person. I understand that any potential partner I might find isn't going to be perfect, but it's a matter about, what am I willing to put up with? Like, which character flaws and personality traits that I'm not necessarily a fan of, or maybe ideas, am I willing to like let slide and work through and address and communicate about our differences, and like which things have to be there. And I think that when we talk about settling, is because that, be like, girl, don't settle for that. Or, or bro, like, you a king, pick up your crown, like what? And a lot of times, like, they're coming from the right place and from the right intention, because the other side of that very much does exist, the codependency, and like, I need to be with someone, and it's not about settling, it's about getting anything you can get. Like, that other side of it is extremely toxic too. But I do think that, like, a lot of times people and this happens more so, people in relationships, they've been dating for 6 months to a year, something, they're like, bro, this is getting stale. This is boring. It's like, bro, relationships are kind of boring. Like, you don't really go into a relationship for new and exciting, even if you are the type of person where it's like,
it's for companionship.
It's for companionship. It's for stability. It's for predictability, consistency. It's almost the exact opposite reasons of why you choose to, like, exclusively date someone is why you would choose to be single. Almost, like, you know what I'm saying?
No,
like,
I think the word settling a lot of time does get that that bad rep where it's like, oh, like you shouldn't be settling for that. Like, you deserve more, whatever it is. But it's like, okay, let's say, for instance, just to be real, I'm not going to bag a 10, you know what I'm saying? Like, and a 10 isn't necessarily, the physical traits and that's it. But a 10 is literally the ultimate woman for me. You know what I'm saying? You will never get that 10 until you start working with them and understand them and understand their flaws. And one thing I've learned from past relationships, is that when you have a growing relationship, it's not a basis of, oh, I do this for you, so you do this for me. It's not transactional. It's more so about, you have these flaws, let me understand them and then help you, like, guide to a better light than what you were before. That's it. There's no, I'm here to change you and control you. No, I have no part in that. You have to do that yourself. You know what I'm saying? But if you're able to say, like, you know what, maybe, and you tell them, like, like, oh, I've noticed that you've done this, or you do this kind of thing. Maybe we should change this kind of behavior. And they help you out in those kind of aspects. So you go from a 6 to an 8. You know what I'm saying? Even after a relationship, you're still an 8. There's no, oh, I went all the way back to 1. No, nigga. Like, what do you mean? Like, you are now an 8, not only because of the relationship, but also from the values that you've learned and the traits that you've learned from yourself, and how you're able to work on the negative factors about yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like you said, no one's a perfect person. Like, regardless if it's romantic or platonic, I think it was like maybe like last year, or even like maybe this year, it fully like dawned on me. I was like, yo, my parents are people too. You know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of, like, I think as when you grow up, especially when you're a kid, like, you don't really notice them as human beings. You just see them as your parents. But when you start growing up and you start seeing things about yourself as well, you're like, oh no, these are people, bro. These are human beings that have lives and that have emotions and that have flaws, just like myself. And I think maybe settling is like a weird word to say. Maybe it's like, instead of you should settle, it should be like, you should have a companion. I don't really know. It's a weird way to phrase it.
There's you brought up a couple different things. Like, one, in terms of like transactional relationships, that's another phrase, right, that people use, and they're like, this is not the type of relationship you want. You don't want a transactional relationship. It's difficult for me to understand, so I'm gonna place the burden on you, like, to break that down, because from my understanding, every relationship is transactional. You don't have relationships with other people if there's not something that you want to gain from that relationship.
Okay, that's true. I guess when I think of transactional, it is coming from a negative place. It's more so like, I do this for you, so you do this for me. But instead of it being a place of benefit and where it's like a nourishment, it's more so like, I'm gonna drain you because I want these certain things.
Because any relationship, if you think about, like, bro, if I was married and I had a wife, for instance, right? And say, for instance, she decided to stay at home with the kid. She would expect that I do certain things, and I would expect that she does certain things. Or if you think about two other people in two other sorts of, situations or contexts, like, there's a certain level of expectations that you have in the relationship. I think the transactional thing is like you said, where does the intention come from? Right? Is the intention about growing the relationship, or is it about draining the relationship for its resources?
Yeah.
If you're trying to grow the resources that are within the relationship, you have to grow the two people in the relationship. If you're just looking to drain the resources, it's like, all right, like, well, I made you food 3 days ago, so like you're supposed to pay for this tonight, and like, and y'all are married and then you wonder why people get divorced. I was telling my boy about this. I was like, bro, the number one cause of divorce is money.
Really?
Yeah, like it's financial. Like think about all the people out here cheating. Like people can get over cheating, but money is like causes all these problems. And like a big part of it is because there's, like you said, there's a lot of like transactional mindsets or like transactional and like things about money that I think that like a lot of men they grow up with, and a lot of women too, about what role your partner is supposed to play in money. And like it breeds a lot of unhealthy things. Like there's a lot of people in relationships where it's like they have no idea about the finances. It's like, oh, my partner handles that. Are you a child? What do you mean your partner handles that? Like you're an adult. Like you're supposed to have like, and it doesn't matter. Say I'm bringing home 100% of the money. My wife needs to still know.
Yeah.
She needs to know. This is the day we get paid. These are all our bills. She needs to be just as much involved in the budgeting process. It doesn't matter if I bring home all the money. Just like it doesn't matter if she's the one who's staying at home with the kid. I still need to raise my kid because I'm an adult.
Yeah, like there's I forgot where I read this from, but it was pretty much probably like a YouTube video where a lot of times, especially with how feminism is now, I think feminism in general is a great movement, but there, like in any kind of movement, there's people who are outliers and people who are the extremists of it. And the people who are extremists of feminism they're not most likely, they are like, I'm doing this like, oh, like I deserve to have these rights and these equality things, boom, 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 boom. But when it's presented, it's like, oh, but I don't want to do that though. You know what I'm saying? So like, I think, especially now how America's going, it's like, yo, it doesn't matter if you are the bread maker. It doesn't matter if you are the child taker. You still have to be engaged in both of those outlets, because if you're only in one side and think, oh, this is my only sole responsibility, no, not at all. You know what I'm saying? Like you need to know what's going on as well, so that way you can be prepared if there is a mishap, if there's something going on. You know what I'm saying? You need to be involved into both of these segments of your life. So like and like I said,
two holes coming together.
Yeah, it's two holes coming together. You need to understand it. But I was gonna say, like, this is definitely from what we have been pressured into, is that, oh, men, you get all the money, you know what I'm saying, you make the bread. The women, you take care of the children, and you don't have to worry about the physical labor. You don't have to worry about all that kind of stuff. But it's like, what do you mean? You know what I'm saying? Like if we truly want equality in relationships, you both have to be putting in that same amount of work. Otherwise, someone's gonna always resent you for some kind of thing. Like it's like, oh, I'm always, let's say for instance, the guy's like, oh, I'm always doing the dishes, da 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 da, and then I'm not saying this is all girls. This is probably like a small fraction of girls, but it's like, but I gave you okay, like that doesn't, you know what I'm saying? That's not gonna add up to what I want and not my actual relationship. Like if you can offer me more than just that, if just the physical, then there can be something going on. But like sometimes people think that's